This is the EdExcel GCSE 91 Maths paper 1 from the foundation tier, and this paper is from the November 2022 series. Question number 1. We have to write 0.3 as a fraction. Well, because we've got one digit after the decimal place, the denominator will be 10. And out of 10, we have 3. So 0.3 as a fraction is 3/10. Question number 2. We have to work out 3 to the power of 2. What this is the same as is multiplying 3 by itself. 3 squared is the same as 3 times by 3, which is equal to 9. Question number 3, we have to work out 20 divided by 3 plus 2. Well, what this is the same as is working out 20 divided by, well, dealing with the brackets, 3 plus 2 is 5. So we have 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Question number 4, we have to write down a factor of 60 that is between 8 and 14. Well, the factors of 60, we've got 1 times by 60 gives 60. 2 times by 30 gives 60. 3 times by 20 gives 60. 4 times by 15 gives 60. 5 times by 12 gives 60. 6 times by 10 gives 60. Here are all the factors of 60. What we want is a factor of 60 between 8 and 14. Well, one of the factors in between 8 and 14, well, we could have this 12. We could also have this 10. We could choose either of these. I'm going to write down 10. Question number 5. We have to simplify 3 times by w times by 5 times by t. 3 times by 5 is 15. Then we have w multiplied by t. So we have 15 wt. Question number 6. Faye is planning a trip to a theme park for 1 adult and 2 children. These are the costs for the trip. The total cost of petrol is £23. For the tickets to the theme park, we've got £33 for each adult, £24.50 for each child. For meals, we've got £15 for each adult and £10 for each child. Faye has £200 to spend. She pays all the costs. How much money does she have left? Well, what we can do, first of all, so for the total cost, we've got £23 for the petrol, and then for the tickets to the theme park, we've got 1 adult, so that is £33, and then we add on 2 times by 20.50, because we've got 2 children. For the meals, we've got 1 adult, so that's £15, plus 2 times by 10, we've got 2 children. So we've got the petrol cost, the theme park cost, and the meals cost. So if we work out what this is all equal to, we've got 23 plus 33 plus, now 2 times by 24.50, that's 49, and then we add on 15, and then we add on 20. So if we work out what the total cost is in this case, well, we've got 15 plus 20, which is 35, and if I add 50, I get 85, but then subtract 1 because I've got 49, I have 84, and then add on the 6, so that gives us 90, then add on 50 to that, we get 140. So the total cost is £140. So for the money left over, we've got £200. Subtract the question number 7. Here is a list of 8 letters. For part A, we have to write down the mode. Well, the mode means the most common. The most common letter you can see is A. It appears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So the mode is given by A. One of the 8 letters is going to be picked at random. For the first part of part B, on the probability scale, we have to mark with a cross the probability that this letter will be a B. Well, we have 8 different sections of our probability scale, and you can see B appears twice. So the probability that we will land on AB is 2/8, and that's shown by this cross here. For the next part, we have to find the probability that this letter will be C. Well, we can see C appears once, so our probability is given by 1/8. Question number 8 for part A, we have to solve m subtract 3 equals 4. Well, if we add 3 to both sides, then we end up with m equals 4 plus 3, which is 7. M is equal to 7. For part B, we have to solve 3n plus n equals 24. Well, 3n plus n, that is equal to 4n. 4n is equal to 24. And now if we divide both sides by 4, then 4n divided by 4 is just n. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So we have n equals 6. Question number 9. For part A, we have to find the value of y. Well, recognizing that angles around a point sum to 360, y plus 70 equals 360. And if I subtract 70 from both sides, it turns out y equals 290. So y equals 290. And for part B, giving a reason for our answer, angles around a point sum to 360. Question number 10. A shop sells jars of coffee. Each jar of coffee costs £4. Michael has £23. We have to work out the greatest number of jars of coffee Michael can buy. Well, if I do 23 divided by 4, we get 5 3/4, which means the greatest number of jars of coffee Michael can buy is 5. In a sale on Wednesday, jars of coffee are sold at half price. So currently, one jar is £4. And if each jar of coffee is sold at half price, that means the cost, well, that will equal £2. And the question is saying, Michael thinks he can now buy exactly twice the number of jars of coffee for £23. Is Michael correct? Must give a reason for your answer. Well, if we do 23 divided by 2, which is 11.5, what you can see from here then is Michael can buy 11 jars. And as 5 times by 2 is equal to 10, not this 11, we can therefore conclude Michael is incorrect. Question number 11. Here are two triangles on a grid. Triangle B is an enlargement of triangle A. We have to write down the scale factor. Well, if we measure this length here, what you can see is we've got 6 across. And if we measure this length here, then that will be 3. From 3 to 6, we multiply by 2, or in other words 6 divided by 3 is our question number 12. Eleanor spent 120 minutes at a sports centre. She played badminton for 50 minutes. She used the swimming pool for 1/6 of the 120 minutes. She used the gym for 20% of the 120 minutes. She then spent the rest of the 120 minutes in the cafe. We have to work out the total time in minutes that Eleanor spent in the cafe. So the first thing we can do is find out how long she used the swimming pool for. The amount of time spent in the swimming pool, we have 1/6 multiplied by. Question number 13. The composite bar chart shows information about the number of people living in a village. For part A, we have to write down the number of men living in the village in the year 2000. So men is shown by the black box. In the year 2000, what you can see is we have 60. For part B, we have to find the number of children living in the village in the year 2010. So children is this grey box. So that is equal to 210 subtract 160. So 210 subtract 60 is equal to 50. So there are 50 children in the village in the year 2010. For the people living in the village in the year 2020, we have to find the ratio of the number of children to the total number of men and women. Well, the first thing we can do is find out how many people there are in 2020. That's equal to 280. And then what we can do to find out the number of children is work out 280, subtract the 200, and if we work that out, we get 80. So there are 80 children. And the total number of men and women, that's 200. So we have 200 adults. And therefore the ratio of children to the total number of men and women, we've got 80 to 200, which we can simplify to 8 to 20, which if we half it, we get 4 to 10, which is the same as 2 to 5. And the way you can get this is to divide through by 40. So we end up with 2 to 5. Question number 14. Jenny drives from London to Swindon at an average speed of 54 miles per hour. She drives for 1.5 hours. We have to work out the distance from London to Swindon. Well, what we have is 54 miles per hour, and if I multiply this by 1.5 hours, then what you can think to yourself is the hours units cancel. 54 times 1.5, that's equal to 81. So we have 81 miles. Alexi is using a map. The map has a scale of 1 to 25,000. On the map, a road has a length of 6 centimeters. We have to work out the length in kilometers of the real road. Well, we need to work out 6 multiplied by 25,000. And if we work out what this is, what we end up with is 150,000 centimeters. And what we need to do is convert this to kilometers. And the way you can think about this is, well, we've got centimeters, we've got meters, and we've got kilometers. Question number 15. We've got the points P and Q, and we have to find the coordinates of the midpoint of PQ. Well, the way to think about this is to think, well, how many do we go across from P to Q? Well, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. And how many do we go up? Well, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. So we want to halve those. So half of the 6 is 3. So if we go 1, 2, 3 up, we've got the y coordinate of the midpoint shown. And if we go 2.5 this way, what you can see is our midpoint is over here. And our midpoint will be given by -1/2, 1. So we have -1/2, 1. Question number 16. Here is a quadrilateral ABCD. All the measurements are in centimeters. The perimeter of ABCD is 52 centimeters. We have to work out the length of DC. Well, to find the perimeter, we add all the individual edges. So, we've got 2x subtract 5. This is being added to x plus 1, being added to x subtract 1, being added to 2x. The result of this expression is equal to 52. So now for us to find out what x is, we need to simplify. 2x plus x is 4x, plus another x is 4x plus the 2x, that's 6x, minus 5 is what we have for the numbers, because the plus 1 and the minus 1 simplify to 0. And then we end up with 52. So now, if I add 5 to both sides, you can see 6x is equal to 57. And if I divide both sides by 6, well, what I'll end up with is 9.5, or in other words, 9.5. So now to find out what DC is, DC is equal to 2x, but I already know what x is, that's 9.5. So we've got 2 times by 9.5, which is equal to 19. So we end up with DC equaling 19 centimeters. Question number 17 is there are only blue counters, green counters and red counters and yellow counters in a bag. The table shows the number of blue counters in the bag. There is a total of 100 counters in the bag. Asin takes at random a counter from the bag. For part A, we have to find the probability that the counter is not blue. So the number of counters that are not blue well, if we've got 100 counters in total, 30 of them are blue. So if I subtract 30 from 100, it turns out 70 of the counters are not blue. And so therefore, the probability that the counter is not blue that's equal to, well, out of 100, 70 of them are not blue. And this can be simplified to 7/10. The ratio of the number of blue counters to the number of green counters is 2 to 3. We have to work out the number of green counters in the bag. Well, we've got this ratio, blue to green. This is equal to 2 to 3. Now I know from the question I've got 30 which are blue. So if 30 counters are blue, from 2 to 30 are times by 15. So I also have to multiply the 3 by 15. And if I do that, I get 45. So we have 45 green counters. Bradley says the number of red counters in the bag is the same as the number of yellow counters in the bag. Can Bradley be correct? Give a reason for your answer. Well, what we've just worked out now is that there are 45 green counters. So that means the total for red and yellow is 100 take with 30 blue, take with a 45 green, which is 25. So if we have the same number, well, that 25 cannot be divided into two parts to give a whole number of counters. Question number 18. There are 240 cans of drink on a shelf. Each can contains cola or lemonade or orange. The number of cans of cola to the number of cans of lemonade to the number of cans of orange is 5 to 3 to 2. 1/2 of the cans of lemonade and 1/12 of the cans of orange are removed from the shelf. We have to work out the number of cans of cola as a percentage of the total number of cans remaining on the shelf. So the first thing we can do is work out the amount of cola we've got originally. Well, we've got 5 out of a total of 5 plus 3 plus 2. And then what we need to do is times this by 240. This will tell us the amount of cola we've got. So we've got 5/10 times 240, which is 120. Similarly for lemonade, we've got 3 parts for lemonade. And if I divide this by the 5 plus 3 plus 2, this is the fraction of lemonade. And if I times by 240, we get 3/10 times 240, which is 72. And for orange, we've got 2 parts for orange. And if I divide this by 5 plus 3 plus 2, the fraction of orange is shown here. And timesing this by 240, we get 2/10 times 240, which is 48. So now, what we need to do is work out 1/2 of the total for lemonade. So 1/2 times 72 is 36. So if I do 72 take away 36, that tells me 36 lemonade is what we have remaining. And if we do 1/12 times by 48, we get 4. So that means if we do 48 take away 4, we get 44. So we've got 44 oranges remaining. So what we need to do is find out the number of cans of cola as a percentage of the total number of drinks. So the total number of drinks, that's 120 plus 36 plus 44. The amount of cola we've got is 120. So here is the fraction of cola as a total. Question number 19, we have to write 500 as a product of powers of its prime factors. Well, if we start off with 500, two numbers which multiply to give 500, well, we've got 250 and 2. 2 is a prime number, 250 isn't, so this 250 we can further split up as 2 times by 125. 2 is a prime number, 125 isn't, so this 125 we can split up as 5 times by 25. 5 is a prime number, 25 isn't, so this 5 we can further split up as 5 times by 5. So what do we have then? Well, 500 is equal to, well, I've got 2 times 2, and then I times this by 5, and by this 5, and by this 5. So what we've got then, altogether, is 2 squared times by 5 cubed. So we've got 2 squared times 5 cubed. Question number 20. For part A, we have to work out 1 3/5 plus 2 1/4. So, giving our answer as a mixed number, first thing we need to do is convert this 1 3/5 into a top-heavy fraction, and we also need to convert the 2 1/4 into a top-heavy fraction. Well, 1 3/5, if I do 1 times by 5, and then add on the 3, I get 8. And then we've got the fifths at the bottom. And then I'm adding this to, well, if I do 2 times by 4, which is 8, and then add the 1, I get 9. And then divide that by 4. So what I need to do now is write all of this over a common denominator. And the common denominator will be 5 times by 4. So I've got 8 times by 4 plus 9 times by 5. And if I work out what this is equal to, we get 32 plus 45, which is 87, divided by 20. Now I'm asking myself, how many times does 20 go into 87? Well, rather, we have 77 over 20. So how many times does 20 go into 77? Well, that's 3 whole times, and what's left over is 17 out of 20. So we've got 3 and 17/20. Then for part B, we have to show that 2 2/3 divided by 6 is equal to 4/9. So we've got 2 and 2/3 being divided by 6. Well, if I convert the 2 2/3 into a top-heavy fraction, 2 times by 3 is 6, add the 2, we get 8. So we have 8/3 being divided by 6. And when we divide, what we do is multiply by the reciprocal. So we've got 8/3 being multiplied by 1/6. And if we work this out, we've got 8 times by 1, which is 8. Then we've got 3 times by 6, which is 18. And we can simplify. Question number 21. We've got 2 to the minus 5 times 2 to the 8, all to the power of 2. We have to give our answer as the power of 2. Well, 2 to the minus 5 times 2 to the 8, because we've got the same base and we are multiplying, we would have to add the powers, like so. So I've got 2 to the minus 5 plus 8, and all of this is being squared. So, inside the bracket, we've got 2 to the 3, and then I'm squaring that. So I've got 2 to the 3 times by 2, which is 2 to the 6. Question number 22, we have to work out 0.004 times 0.32. Now the way I'm going to choose to do this is to rewrite these calculations as fractions. 0.004, that is the same as 4 divided by 1000, and 0.32, that's the same as 32 over 100. So to work out what this is, well, on the denominator, we've got 1000 times by 100 on the denominator, and for the numerator, 4 times by 32 is what we have. So if we try to simplify this, we've got 128 divided by 100,000, and if I work out what this is, question number 23, a car factory is going to make 4 different car models A, B, C and D. 80 people are asked which of the 4 models they would most likely to buy. The table shows information about the results. A factory is going to make 40,000 cars next year. We have to work out how many Model B cars in the factory they should make next year. Well, we've got 15 who like Model B out of the 80, and we're going to assume this is representative of the 40,000, and so if I multiply this fraction by 40,000, what we end up with is 7,500. So we've got 7,500. Question number 24. Rizwan writes down three numbers, A, B and C. The ratio of A to B is 1 to 3. The ratio of B to C is 6 to 5. We have to find the ratio of A to B to C. So we've got A, B and C. And we know that the ratio A to B is 1 to 3. And the ratio B to C is 6 to 5. Now what's the lowest common multiple of 3 and 6? That's 6. So I need to multiply 3 by 2 to get 6. So 1 times by 2 is 2. And then we've got the 5 remaining as it is. So when we come to write the ratio of A to B to C, we've got 2 to 6 to 5. We now have to express A as a fraction of the total of the three numbers. Well, for the total of the three numbers, we've got 2 plus the 6 plus the 5. So the total of A is 2. So we've got 2 over 2 plus 6 plus 5. And if we work out what this is, we end up with 2/13. Emma writes down three numbers, M, N and P. N is equal to 2M and P is equal to 5N. We have to find the ratio of M to P. Well, what we can do is replace this N, which we know is 2M, as necessary. So we have P equals 5 times by 2M. And if I work out what this is, you can see that P is equal to 10M. So, as P is equal to 10M, we need to find the ratio of M to P. Well, if I divide through by 10 and then divide through by P, what you can see then is 1 over 10 is equal to M over P, which means the ratio M to P equals 1 to 10, as we see here. Question number 25. A storage tank exerts a force of 10,000 newtons on the ground. The base of the tank in contact with the ground is a 4 meter by a 2 meter rectangle. We have to work out the pressure on the ground due to the tank. Pressure is force over area. The first thing we need to work out is the area. The area is equal to 4 times by 2. So the area of the tank is 8 meters squared. So therefore, to work out the pressure, that's equal to, well, we've got 10,000 divided by 8. So it turns out our pressure is equal to 1,250. So we have 1,250 meters squared. Question number 26 for part A, we have to solve 5x over 2 plus 3 being greater than 18. If I subtract 3 from both sides, then we've got 5x over 2 being greater than 15. If I multiply both sides by 2, we have 5x being greater than 30. Dividing both sides by 5, we've got x equal being greater than 6. So we have x being greater than 6. Now for part B, we have to factorize x squared plus 10x plus 9. We first of all need to find two numbers which multiply to give 9, which add to give 10. Well, clearly, those two numbers are 9 and 1. So when we come to factorize, we have x plus 9 multiplied by x plus 1. So we have x plus 9 times x plus 1.